Hidden Killers Podcast.
The whole if you see something, say something, I think applies a lot to this next story. And a lot of people go, well, you know, how do you say something sometimes? Well, if your friend is asking you to store guns for you because they're thinking about killing their family, that's the time to say something. That's the time to be like, this guy's not okay. I don't want him to do that. He seems to not want to do that because he's asking me to hold his guns. And I think this may go beyond me saying, hey, let's go have a beer and talk it out. This is more, no, this person probably should be put into a psychiatric hold so they can get some help. But obviously that is not what occurred in this story. A Layton, Utah man accused of murdering his wife, her parents, 3 family dogs had apparently planned to shoot them days before. After the killings, he called police and confessed. He remained on the phone with the authorities until they arrived at the home. According to the probable cause statement, 34-year-old Jeremy Bailey had kept firearms at someone else's garage because he was thinking of doing this a few days ago. Anastasia Stevens, 36, her stepmother Becky Stevens, 61, and father Donald Stevens, 73, and 3 of the 4 family dogs were shot to death in their Layton home on Friday. Becky and Donald Stevens were visiting the couple. It's always a great in-law visit where, you know, your son-in-law kills you. In his call to the police, he claimed that there would be a murder-suicide. He then allegedly told them that the victims had been that he killed the victims 20 minutes prior to the call. He also claimed that that there had been a domestic violence incident prior to the killings. Interesting. He just kind of like writes down his rap sheet and goes for it. It's also reported that he posted on his wife's Facebook page saying, "Massacre suicide. Jeremy Bailey just killed everyone. Becky Stevens, Don Stevens, and 3 of the 4 dogs. 1832 East Gentile Street, Layton." It seems like a logical thing that most reasonable people do. Prior to the killings, Bailey asked his friend to remove his guns from his home because he was thinking of doing this a few days ago. According to the affidavit, however, according to the probable cause statement, he armed himself with one of the victim's weapons, and security video showed him acquiring ammo less than an hour before the 911 call, so he didn't quite give all the weapons over. While on the phone with dispatch, Jeremy allegedly stated that he had a firearm that had belonged to one of the victims and had forgot about it until that day. According to court documents, one of the victims had contacted a therapist earlier on Friday and sent a message stating, "I think we may have a very real problem, so I uncovered the mega load of his shady shit, and it's really bad, like scary. I think it may be time for legal interference. I know I definitely need to find an attorney, and he's still at the house, so I can't talk." So people knew that things were coming to a head, unfortunately. According to a probable cause document, Bailey told detectives he would rather be executed than serve life in prison, and he questioned if a firing squad was still an option for the death penalty. "I can't believe I did it," he allegedly said in what cops described as an excited manner. He's being held without bail and charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder, 3 counts of felony discharge of a firearm, 3 counts of aggravated cruelty to animals. Well, I think if you are pretty damn guilty on this and you say, "I did it, I know I did it," and there's really no question, and you actually are volunteering to leave the planet, I say give you a one-way ticket out. We'll even get you a nice dinner at Red Lobster beforehand. How does that sound? Okay? And then firing squad for you at 8.
I mean, if that's what they want and they've admitted to it, and I mean, just that whoever, and I'm assuming it was the wife, wrote to the therapist, that is chilling.
It is.
There was some shit going down in that house. And I think, and I was reading about this, I'm not totally sure, kind of like it was a maybe, that the in-laws had come maybe as a protection for the daughter or to help in this situation. Like, obviously they knew something was wrong. Yeah. So they came to help her and stay for a while, and that wasn't enough. And who's the friend? If your friend says, "Could you take my guns because I'm afraid I'm going to do something," it seems like great on them for taking the guns, but you can always go get another gun.
Yes. If any friend came to me and said that they were thinking of doing this, "Can you take my guns?" My first response would be, Sure, I hear you. And you act real calm and you take the guns. And then you call the police.
That seems logical to me. I
And-
think taking the guns isn't enough because even if you took the guns, you still got knives and you got anything can be used as a weapon.
If someone is making a threat like that or saying that they feel like they could be doing that, they can be put into a forced psychiatric hold for something like that.
Should have been.
Now,
He should have been.
the scary thing with that, a lot of people will then say, well, yes, but for how long? And that is a good question because usually it's like a 48-hour thing or a couple-day thing or whatever. And then, some people, when they get out of that, they know who called them in. They're more angry at the end of that, and there's not a whole lot you can do to stop that until they actually do something or make another threat. It's this weird, scary place to be in. Been there. And you just don't know what that person is going to be like on the other side. And you do have some fear that that person may come out and go after you. That's the problem. There's this whole gray area of, okay, they committed these horrible crimes. Now they have to pay the price. And then there's the area early on where it's like, well, they're kind of showing symptoms here and there. They haven't quite done anything yet. And then there's that middle ground where it's like just brewing and could like erupt at any given time, but there's not enough truly to arrest someone. Although in this case there is, but in many cases there's not. It's just like, well, I don't know. I'm finding stuff out. They're very temperamental. They pose the potential to be a threat, but until they actually do it, guess what? Nobody's being hauled away. And if you share a home with that person, what do you do? Especially if they are not wanting to leave. In the interest of your life and the well-being of your family, it is get the hell out of there. It's not sit there, protect yourself from that person until they get better, because they're probably not going to get better. Shit will hit the fan in some way, shape, or form, and unfortunately, sometimes this is how it goes down. But it's always get the hell out of there. There obviously you go to 1,000 caveats of what if you can't afford to go anyplace? What about this? What about that? There are resources out there depending on your community. Every place is a little bit different. Friends, family here, maybe go live with mom and dad, even if it, when it comes down to if you feel the person could be a serious threat to you or your family, sitting and waiting to see what happens,
right.
Worst idea. But
I would like to know how the therapist responded to that message. Because I would have, as just a friend, if my friend reached out and said that, I'd be like, you've got to get it out of there.
I'm curious, when did the message, when did they get the message? It was an email. I mean, hell, I remember I had a therapist back a while back, and I'd send a message. It would take days sometimes to get a reply on some really kind of urgent feeling things. But it all kind of varied depending on who you have. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing with situations like this. Sometimes people don't have therapists, and you go, oh, well, maybe I want to go get some help. I should get a therapist. Okay, well, you can get in. Looks like October 34th. I know there's not an October 34th, but there might as well be.
Saying never.
With the way that sometimes things can be, out for quite some time. So it's a messed up world, and getting mental health help for someone who's feeling that way. And then obviously, what do you do other than feel like a sitting duck? And I'm guessing that's very much how that family felt.
This is the examination of the hidden human condition.
You're listening to the Hidden Killers Podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Bruschi.
And if you like the podcast, be sure to press subscribe wherever you download podcasts. You don't miss any breaking updates, episodes, discussions on the cases that we're following for you right here. For Carol, I'm Tony. Stay with us.